Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Awesemo.com Live Before Lock show, where we discuss everything that's good in the sports world, and currently that is just baseball. So we are talking baseball. I'm Chris Spags, joined today by the baseball savant himself, Mr. Jake Hari. Jake, how's it going?
Good. I'm excited. Baseball Savant's doing great. This slate looks really fun. So I'm excited to hear where you're at, where you ended up or are ending up. And then I've got a few takes of my own.
Ooh, pre-prepared takes, fresh out the oven. I like it.
Yeah.
Actually, fun news for everyone. I just told Jake before we came on the air. Our tech guy, Eddie, just made me a spreadsheet. So now I am operating at peak efficiency, like somebody from the future or from the not distant past in an office somewhere. So I have a lot of data in front of me right now, which is going to be very helpful, I'm hoping. But Jake, let's start with whatever's in your beautiful mind. You are the baseball savant. What are you looking at tonight? We've got 15 games. It's a lot of fucking games. What are you looking at tonight at pitcher?
Yeah, so pitcher, I wrote up Nola, Gray, and Ferguson, I believe. And those are guys I all really, really like. Wait, did I write up Nola? I can't remember. This day has been so long. But anyways.
I know you mentioned Ferguson. I already remember that because I want to talk some Ferguson. I want to talk Ferguson in depth today.
Okay, we'll talk for Ferguson. Oh, I wrote up McCullers. Yeah, but we talked about Nola at length on the MLB strategy show this morning. So I still like McCullers a ton. Still like Gray. I think Gray's got a lot of upside. And then Ferguson's one of my cheap guys that I'm going to. So I'm making a ton of lineups tonight. And yeah, I'll have probably 6 or 7 pitchers. Miles Michaelis, I have a bunch. I don't know. We talked about these guys a ton this morning. So if you watch that, you don't really need to hear me repeat stuff. But just pretty good matchups for these guys all around. And I don't have super strong takes on them. Like, I'm not making huge ownership stands on any of them, but those are the guys I like. I'll mix in some Fulte as well.
Yeah, so actually, Clever DFS, we're trying to give premium shout-outs because, we're trying to be like a Twitch channel even though we're not on Twitch. I guess we are on Twitch right now, but we're not really on Twitch. So Clever DFS, thank you for joining Premium. If you're not a premium member of Awesemo.com, you should be. All the data points that we reference are up there, ownership projections. Today, while we're speaking of pitchers, is Awesemo's perfect pitcher thing, which is a lot of P's. But it's the percentage breakdown of likelihood that the pitchers on the slate are going to be the highest scoring ones. John Gray comes out really well. John Gray is also going to be one of the higher owned guys on the slate. John Gray is obviously fadeable, but what are you approaching with John Gray? I mean, would you take an approach of you're playing less of him maybe because he's going to be so highly owned and he is a little bit of a volatile player, or are you just totally okay riding with him?
Yeah, he is a really volatile player, but I have a hard time like completely fading the upside of a guy like Gray. He's got double-digit strikeouts in him. He's got 7 to 8 strikeouts in him. I think a pretty good amount of time in this same spot if you were to play it over a bunch of times. So he's really tough to fade at that price at 8K. There's not really a guy below him that I think can even come close to matching his theoretical upside. So I mean, I get it. He's going to be super high owned. So if you don't want to eat the chalk there, if you've got another chalky pitcher, that's fine. But I'm pretty comfortable playing pitcher chalk in general, especially when it's a high strikeout guy like John Gray.
Are you okay rolling out both Nola and Gray? Given that there's only one win to be had there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so we talked about this morning. Actually, someone asked that in chat this morning, and it's the thing, like, so what I said was strikeouts are king on DK especially, and so that's what the question was directed towards. You want the strikeouts first. Yeah, the win's great, and 4 points is awesome, and you're limiting yourself. You can't get the 8 points for 2 pitcher wins, but these guys can both have really good starts, and then the win won't matter as much if these guys both go for 25 or 30 or something like that. So, yeah, I'm not concerned doing that.
Okay. And if you had to play one of Nola and Gray, I guess on FanDuel in particular, but let's say in general as well, which would you choose more likely. For me, it's Gray. I mean, I just think the price thing. Nola seems pretty overpriced. He's been very effective this year, but not dying to pay $12K for Aaron Nola. But which would you choose, Nola or Gray?
Yeah, I'd probably go Gray just because of that price, but I think Nola is an awesome option as well. There's just a lot of good pitching today, so I've sort of gotten it down to 6 or 7 guys that I want to use, but no one is really super highly owned for me. So.
Yeah, okay. And Stacks, people are already asking about some teams in the chat. If you have questions about lineup comparisons and stuff, I guess it doesn't really matter as much for Jake and I because we don't care about the site. We just pick our guy. But put the site name in there if you're asking for an either-or question. Let's talk about Stacks. Where are you going first? And also, let's talk about the Dodgers up front because a lot of people have mentioned the Dodgers, I feel like, already. How do you feel about the Dodgers tonight?
Yeah, the Dodgers are an awesome play against Bartolo. Anyone really is going to be an awesome play against Bartolo. Just gives up a bunch of hits, a bunch of homers. Like, if he's not on his exact game, he's just going to give up a ton of rockets. So you've got Bellinger in there. You've got Justin Turner. The lineup's not out, actually, so I guess you don't know if these guys are in here for sure, but I like Jock and Grandal and Justin Turner. Like, there is enough power in here to get to Bartolo. So, yeah, the Dodgers are an awesome stack.
Their prices, too, are, like, a little elevated, and I think that might – I mean, we have their ownership be pretty low. Like, Jock Peterson's $4,300. And it's a little bit much for a guy hitting down the order, but for his power and his on-base percentage, like, I think there's a lot of guys who look really good in the Dodgers, and they're at that kind of sweet price point where I wouldn't be shocked if they were a part of a winning lineup tonight.
Yeah, no, not at all.
Who else are you looking at stack-wise?
Stack-wise, I'm going to just go through sort of game by game. So, I mean, I like Boston. I'm not crazy about Boston. Hess he's fine. I mean, I don't think me or Josh think he's anything special, but so no Mookie in the lineup does hurt that stack, though, for me. And now you've got Eduardo Nunez, probably going to be pretty chalky, just leading off for 3,600 against Hess. And he's just not been very good. So I don't really think I'm going to eat that chalk with Nunez. I like the Twins a little bit against Blaine Hardy. Who else did we talk about? I like both sides of the Brewers-Cubs game. I like the Indians, but really I'm sort of limiting my exposure to the top 3 guys just because I think they're all really good hitters, and I think the full stack is going to be higher owned than it should be. So I do have some respect for James Shields in that he just does a good job of not getting blown up every time he goes out there, or even close to every time he goes out there. Royals and Kansas City, like both sides of that. Cardinals, and then I've kind of cooled off on the Astros a little bit. Josh talked me off the Astros a little bit, and then the Dodgers.
Okay. I don't think, at least I wasn't paying close enough attention, maybe. People were talking about the Royals and the Reds in particular in that game. Maybe not being mentioned as much industry-wide as I would expect, given that both pitchers on that game are horrendous. I mean, Kennedy and Romano are both terrible. How do you feel about the Royals tonight? They don't grade out spectacularly well, but they never do because they're not that good of a team.
Yeah, no, I mentioned them. I just kind of blew by them, but I've got a bunch of Royals and a bunch of Reds tonight, and no respect for really either pitcher. 2 of my favorite guys to pick on in the entire MLB, Sal Romano and Ian Kennedy. They just give up a ton of hard contact, which I love. I always reference Kennedy, especially to lefties. Same thing with Romano against lefties. But I will say I like the red side, I think, a little bit more. Sort of limiting my exposure to a few guys on Kansas City, mostly the top 5 or 6. I mentioned Alex Gordon, and I haven't played him what feels like a couple of years, but Gordon will be in a bunch of my lineups. Just a lefty against Sal Romano is too juicy to pass up. I don't know. I mean, and then Ian Kennedy, just hard contact machine. And then you got Schebler and Votto and Scooter Gennett and Barnhart hitting second for 3,200. That's a really nice catcher spot to fill in. And then Eugenio Suarez, huge power, comes up super high on my list tonight.
Yeah, I'm with you on, like, Votto, I think, might be one of the better plays on the board tonight. You know, Kennedy's, we discussed, a terrible pitcher.
Mm-hmm.
But Votto, 458 on base percentage versus righties, 239 isolated power. I mean, those are probably two of the bigger numbers on both those categories on the slate tonight. And again, I just don't think Kennedy's very good. They're at a positive, they're at Cincinnati, right? No, they're not. They're at KC. Never mind. So not at a great ballpark, but still the matchup versus Kennedy is really something, I think, to go against. And I like Votto, Jeanette, Suarez I'm okay with, but I think all those guys, like Winker is almost on base 400% of the time versus righties. Duvall looks okay. Like, I think you could pretty much stack 1 through 7 in that lineup in different forms, and you might end up in a good spot. Barnhart for a catcher who's so cheap, hitting in second in the order. I think that there are some viable plays there. Speaking of, Barnhart and Schebler or Vasquez and Brantley? I would go Barnhart and Schebler.
Vasquez and Brantley? Yeah, I'd go Barnhart, Schebler there. Keep the correlation there. 1-2 in the order. Going to get a few at-bats against Ian Kennedy. That's really hard for me to pass up.
Who are the cheap stacks that you're looking at tonight? I don't know if there's anything stack-wise, but I'm thinking of one player I'm going to try to prod out of you, who I feel like is always in the winning lineup, and it frustrates me. So now we're doing a double guessing game for you, Jake. What cheap stack am I trying to get you to say?
Cheap stack? I'm just scrolling through here,
A shitty pitcher in a not great park, but I think a pitcher who you don't generally like much. I think, if I'm recalling. I didn't watch your guys' video today, but I do think you don't like him.
I don't know. For cheap stacks?
So the Marlins, I think, are interesting to me.
Okay.
And Bauer in particular, I think could be a pretty good one-off. I reference him a lot because, or not a lot, I reference him because he's always in the fucking winning lineup. Have you noticed that Bauer is almost always in a winning lineup?
He's just cheap, and against a righty, when you're 3,200, he's got huge power. As a one-off, he probably ends up in the winning lineup a lot of times.
Yeah, so I think Bauer is interesting. Maybe the stack itself isn't great. There are a couple guys who intrigue me there. I just think Stratton's not that good, and Stratton doesn't grade out well for me. Even in that park, I'm okay playing Marlins. I think if you're trying to fit some more expensive stacks, the Marlins could be a counterintuitive way to go that has some upside. Justin Turner officially in tonight, so that's good. So I was trying to get you to say Miami, but you don't like Stratton usually, do you? I feel like I've heard you bash Stratton at least once or twice.
Yeah, no, I bash him, but the only problem I have with the Marlins here is that Stratton's okay at striking out righties, and I really like targeting the Marlins against lefties just because they're always super cheap and they have a few guys that hit lefties well. So I'll probably pass on any Marlins tonight, but I'm never going to be mad at someone for stacking against Chris Stratton.
So I think if you were going to try to play some Marlins, I think Dietrich, Anderson, Real Muto, Bauer would be the 4 I would consider to be pretty valuable. I don't know. They just stood out to me, and I think Bauer in particular is pretty interesting. That's right. Josh points out that Jake did not switch. There's been a typo on my Twitter name on our background for literally months, and I kept forgetting to ask Josh, and also because I just don't want to be an inconvenience. And Josh gave us a new one, and Jake said, fuck that. I want nobody to know where your Twitter is. So thanks, Jake. We appreciate it.
That's my bad, but I had a lot on my plate today, you know?
It's fair.
Yeah.
Thoughts on Roark tonight?
Let's see. I don't like Roark. Just Yankee Stadium. He is better against righties, so I'm not really targeting against Roark that much, but I can't get to actually playing him.
Okay. Muncy isn't in tonight, huh? Interesting. How does that affect that lineup? Yeah, how does Max Muncy being in affect the Dodgers for you? I assume he's going to be a good play tonight, too.
Yeah, he's a fine play. 4,700 dual position eligibility. The Dodgers are pretty easy to stack because a bunch of their guys have dual position eligibility, and it's against Bartolo. Late game, maybe it goes a little bit overlooked. Not a huge total either, so I like Muncy. I like the Dodgers a lot.
I think almost everybody in that lineup could be a part of a stack. I think there's not a single guy on that side who I would be like, oh, no. I think they all, especially going against Bartolo, I wouldn't be surprised if that was a very valuable place tonight. Yes, the Chubster is in the chat. Thank you, everybody, for continuing to call him the Chubster. That is his nickname dating back to childhood. Josh Engelman, our fellow live stream / YouTube channel pal. Thoughts on Jamie Barria tonight?
Yeah, I didn't get to Barria 9,200, just too expensive for me. He's been really, really good. So he's a guy that I wish was cheaper. Then I would have some interest, but I just can't do it for 9,200 when you can get Gray for 98 or for 8,000. You can get Ferguson for 6,100. There's just a lot of options below him that I think are better.
Okay. What about a White Sox stack tonight? Adam Plutko going back for the Indians. Not a fantastic pitcher, but I don't mind him. I didn't see it for the White Sox. I think we have them as being pretty good values today, though. But what do you think, Jake?
Yeah, they're fine as values, not like a primary stack that I would be targeting heavily. I mean, me and Josh sort of disagreed this morning. I thought Plutko was okay, but it looks like Vegas is more on his side. Almost a 5-run total for the White Sox. So you've got Moncada in there, and Palka, and Abreu, and Davidson, who all have power. And I've sort of backed off the Plutko as a play, but I don't mind some White Sox bats against him.
Yeah, I don't mind Plutko. I didn't get there with the White Sox either tonight, but yeah, the team total, I could see why you would. Yeah, there's, certainly some interesting options there. I guess if you were going to go to the White Sox, let's see, who do we have? I don't know. I thought Plutko just, like, he's also at a price point that worked for me in a couple lineups, and I was kind of maybe trying to see more of the upside. Yeah, Moncada, I don't know. Like, Palka's not very great on base percentage. Davidson, assuming my lineup is right, Anderson, Tilson, like, a lot of those guys aren't great hitters. So I don't mind Plutko as a play tonight. And I see the reasons why you might think the White Sox stack is good based on Vegas, but I'm not crazy about the White Sox.
Yeah, I'm not crazy about it. Like, you heard it in my voice. I don't have a super strong take there. So I just want to, like, cherry pick a few hitters more than anything.
Seems like the Indians aren't being looked at much today, which I would agree with. Are there any Indians that you would play, or do you feel like the Indians are a good play?
I feel like they're being looked at all over the place. Anytime James Shields is on the mound, the opposing team is going to be healthily owned. We have them as being pretty decently owned too, right? Especially Lindor. So all the plays that
Lindor's the top owned projected guys I think we have.
Yeah. So Lindor, Brantley, and Ramirez are all pretty high. So I don't know. I think that the Indians are going to be one of the chalkier stacks. Highest run total on the board. I really just like those top three guys. Not to say I won't have full stacks of the Indians, but it's going to be more secondary stuff and just going heavily on Lindor and Ramirez especially, and then Brantley. Because you can steal on Shields too, and that's why I like Lindor and Ramirez so much.
Yeah, I think Ramirez, too, people might be off him a little bit because I think the Cleveland stack yesterday was pretty disappointing, and that was one of the chalkier ones. I mean, I had it, so I can say that with full experience. There are a couple guys who were okay there, but Ramirez in particular was, I think, underperforming in a way that people might be surprised by. So I think there is a chance that, like, our ownership projections kind of take into account, it doesn't really take into account people being burned by a team the night before, I think, quite as well as it could, because that's not really a data point. That's a narrative point. But I do think there are enough people who might be burned by the Indians where you could absolutely credibly go, Lindor, Brantley, Ramirez, Encarnacion, maybe Alonso or Kitness. But I think there's like enough guys there where like that actually might be a lower owned stack than it should be, just because people are, there's confirmation bias and people won't want that. So sure. I'm all right with that.
Yeah.
Caleb Ferguson. Let's talk Caleb Ferguson stuff. So he sucked real bad the first time. Still threw 3 strikeouts in a very limited stint. Going against a team who's not that great, strikes out a lot. I think maybe 5th in strikeouts versus a hitter with the handedness of Ferguson. So you're playing Ferguson. I'm also playing a lot of Ferguson. Are we idiots?
No.
Was it like that?
No. I mean, you can understand the play. I think anyone who's like played DFS can understand it. So if you just look at on a team level, Texas has been not good against left-handed pitching this year, striking out a ton, and then even worse on the road. Their power goes away on the road because it's a worse. They play in worse ballparks. They play in one of the best hitters parks in the MLB. So 65 WRC plus against lefties on the road this year. 26% K rate, 278 on base percentage, 121 ISO, just anemic numbers out of Texas there against lefties. And then Ferguson showed decent strikeout stuff in the minors this year. So he had a rough start, and he's going to be, not like super chalk or anything. So I'm going to take my chances on some Caleb Ferguson for sure.
We do have him being pretty highly owned, though. I mean, that is the one caveat that I would say is that I think we have him projected to be near 20% ownership, at least on DK. Mm-hmm. So I think that there is a chance that he bites everybody again. But that said, I think he grades out really well. The Vegas total makes me feel good about it. Being at Dodger Stadium makes me feel a little better about it. I think there's enough reasons to go to him, especially price-wise, that I'm okay with it. But, there's a risk. He's a rookie pitcher coming into another tough spot. Maybe he's just fucking not good in the pros. Maybe he's just not going to be a good major league pitcher. So there is a possibility of that. But there are enough, like Jake said, and somebody in the chat has pointed out, I think it was the Klein. Yeah, the Klein just pointed out he just didn't have control last game, and it wasn't really a getting hit terribly hard thing. So, yeah, I'm okay with Ferguson. Probably too okay, though, is how I feel.
Yeah, I agree with the chatter. It's just first start, things can go wrong. I mean, you never know how guys are going to do in their first starts. And his didn't go the way he wanted it to, but now he's at home going up against a team that's going to let him miss bats, and it just lines up so well for him.
Yep, I think you're right. I hope that we're right, but I guess we'll find out soon. That's the exciting part of it all. We can make our predictions, and we'll know how much and how soul-crushing they all are very shortly. Ferguson goes big. You'll be a happy man. Me and you both, William Frazier. Me and you both. Do you like Nelson Cruz tonight with his hot streak? I think somebody picked him for their home run in the chat yesterday, and he had like 7 home runs. So doing pretty well. How do you feel about Nelson Cruz and the Mariners in general?
I'm not into targeting bats against Berea. Like I said, he's been really good. He's like swinging strike rate way up, and yet I don't expect him to strike out a bunch of guys, but he's been pretty tough to hit. So I'm not going out of my way to target against Berea. I mean, yeah, I would go as far as to say I don't think I'll have any Seattle stacks out of 150. So
I didn't realize you were doing like a full load now. I thought you were doing I thought you were doing 20 or so.
No, I'm trying it out.
You're big dogging. You're big dogging the entries. So people do ask that. Jake tonight is playing at least 150. I'm playing just 10 in the rally cap. I feel like I get enough, and I think also the approach of going with lower owned stacks has been fine. I feel like I'm pretty much break even on the worst nights. Did our dong picks hit last night? I don't think
mine didn't.
Mine didn't. I don't think Josh's did either. Hey, it's an imperfect science. We've said that many times. Garcia is the same price as Ferguson, who were against the Rays, who were also bad against lefties. Is there that much of a difference between him and Ferguson? I think Osmo likes Garcia, so I don't want to speak ill of Garcia necessarily, because obviously he knows better than us. I just like Ferguson a little more. I think he's got more K upside, and I just like him being out of pitcher's park. I think he's going to rebound well. And Garcia, I don't see a crazy ceiling to. But what do you think about the Garcia versus Ferguson debate?
I agree. I think if Ferguson was going to be like 40% chalk or something like that, which on a different slate he would be, then I think Garcia would make for a fine pivot in hopes that Ferguson was to fall apart. But I just think Ferguson has so much more upside. I agree with you.
Yeah, so there we go. So we're Team Ferguson, but that did not. Oh, that's right. Josh had Blash, so Blash did not do it for the Chubster and the Angels last night. Only Mike Trout. He just sucked up all the home runs. There was no home runs left for Jabari Blash.
Yeah.
Would you go Odorizzi or Rourke as an SP2?
Odorizzi.
I would go Odorizzi. Hey! Minnesota Jake's coming in hot.
Yep.
I think Odorizzi is actually not a bad play. He doesn't fit a lot of the lineup constructions I had, but I don't see a lot to be afraid of on that Detroit side.
Yeah, it's just Odorizzi's been missing bats too. I keep riding this guy, and he had that one disaster start against Cleveland, but outside of that, over his last 4 or 5 starts, he's been He's been really good.
Yep, I'm with it. I agree with you. I think Odorizzi's not a terrible play. I also don't. Let's see. I don't think we're going to have him being very highly owned either. So if you want to differentiate some things, Odorizzi we have being close to 2%. So yeah, a contrarian pivot at pitcher, not in a fantastic matchup, but I think he can get you the 20-25 you need. Do you like the Cardinals tonight? I do like the Cardinals, but I actually don't think the Padres pitcher is terrible. But Jake, what do you think about the Cardinals and stacking them up and whatever?
Yeah, Strom's not terrible, but we're not really scared of the Padres bullpen. And then they just have a bunch of guys that crush lefties. So you got Jose Martinez and Ozuna and Pham, Yorko, Yadi Molina, one of my favorite catcher options on the slate, all solid numbers against lefties. So I think I said top 5 or 6 last night and this morning, but they're up to like, I think 2, maybe 3 in terms of exposure so far. So yeah, love me some Cardinals.
How are you feeling about the Brewers and Cubs again? I think the Brewers look interesting. I'm not playing any Cubs, but I guess I don't mind them. I just didn't. There are other stacks I like more, to be honest. Brewers, though, I don't mind, and I think also Thames in particular looks really interesting to me. And Yelich. I think there are a couple guys there I would go with. But Jake, how are you feeling about the Brewers Cubs game?
Yeah, against Chatwood, sign me up for that. Just
stinks.
Yeah, loves walking guys. I mean, Yelich is one of my highest exposed players tonight. Yelich is just a good hitter, man. Look at his numbers against righties. He can hit lefties. Not that you really have to worry about that here, but I think Yelich might be my home run call. Not to fast forward.
No, don't tease it out too much. We do have to wait for the Chubster to get back. He did say 15 minutes, but yeah, he's in consideration. I like that. I think it's gonna be an interesting home run day. I hope we can get one right. I'm still in the lead, but Jake, I'm disappointed in you. I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah.
For the baseball savant, you got to pick some more home runs.
I haven't been on a couple slates. I've missed a couple times.
That's true.
Completely. So.
It does decrease your odds a little bit. You need a plus EV approach of being in every time.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on a red stack against Kennedy? We touched on that a little bit before. I like the Reds a lot. I think almost everybody on that side I'm okay stacking. Which Reds do you feel like are the strongest, Jake, to go with tonight?
Ooh, that's a good question. All right, so in order, I would have them. Yeah. In order, I think Votto, 4,300. Just you don't really need to talk much about Votto. Then probably Scooter, then Suarez, then Schebler, Barnhart. But I don't think there's huge gaps between any of those guys. You can have them in any order, but clearly the top 5 for me, and then Duvall is probably my favorite outside of the top 5.
For me, I would go Votto, Jeanette. I do like Schebler. Mm-hmm. Then Barnhart, and I would go Winker instead of Suarez. I think Suarez and Winker grade out pretty similar to me. I think they have Suarez gets on base 334, Winker 394, Suarez isolated power 176, Winker isolated power 170. So I think you're getting a little more on base percentage, maybe getting a little more contrarian by going Winker instead. And Duvall's also got pretty good power too. I think if we're going to throw a guy in there who isn't as good at getting on base as those two as Suarez and Jeanette, but is a guy who can maybe sock one out of the park, Duvall would be a dude who I would think can do that. Yeah. No worries, Mr. Papa Giorgio. We understand people come in and out. We try to kind of circle back and hit everything multiple times, but get your questions in and we will ask them. Favorite FanDuel GPP bets? I don't know what FanDuel pricing is offhand, but Jake, do you have any thoughts on FanDuel tonight?
FanDuel GPP bats, like individual, or are you talking stacks?
Yeah, I guess a stack for FanDuel, okay. Sure.
I mean, I like the Twins once again. I like the Twins. I mean, it's mostly the same for me. Like, I'll try to fit in the same stacks on both sites. I like the Cubs. I mean, how can you not? 2 $2,800 players against Chase Anderson to start off. Then you get Rizzo, Bryant, who are more expensive, but then you go back down to Zobrist and Wilson Contreras and Javi Baez. So I don't really like the Indians as a full stack, I will say, on FanDuel. But the Reds, the Royals against Sal Romano, and then the Cardinals just love the Cardinals tonight.
All right. Would you like a Giants stack tonight? I'm not crazy about him. I actually think Richards is in a terrible, terrible play. He's not good, not a terrible play. But what do you feel about the Giants tonight?
Yeah, I like playing the Giants against lefties a lot more just because they've got Posey, McCutchen, and Longoria. So I don't think I'll get to Giants. I mean, maybe some one-off hitters. The three guys I mentioned, just their best hitters. It's super cheap on FanDuel if we're still talking FanDuel, but that's about all I can say. Not a rousing endorsement of any Giant stack.
Yeah, I'm not crazy about it. That's why I think nobody looks that great. I think Richards is maybe an okay play. He's not as bad as Wei Yin Chen, who actually also didn't look bad versus the Giants, but then he got rocked. But I think there is an opportunity there possibly. Not a great price for Richards though. Nunez or Reynolds for DK? I would go Reynolds, I think.
Oh God. Wait, Nunez or Reynolds? Which Reynolds?
I would assume Mark Reynolds. Actually, no, maybe not.
On DK?
Why? Yeah, maybe not, because now they're different positions.
Yeah.
I don't know. Weird question, Kevin Zoe.
Yeah, I don't know into it.
Is there another Reynolds? I think there's only one Reynolds, right?
I'm trying to think. Maybe it's someone really obvious that we're missing, but
maybe it's Burt Reynolds. He just wants to check our opinions on old film actors.
Maybe.
Kevin Zoe, clear it up, and we'll circle back to you. Merrifield or no, that's not a question. Never mind. How sneaky is Pruitt tonight? Minimum salary on DK. I don't think he's sneaky because unnamed optimizer site has him as being like the dude you have to play in every lineup to use their projections. So yeah, I would say Pruitt is not as sneaky as he seems. But would you play Pruitt? Doing the stupid thing that the Rays do.
No, I think it's smart. Did we talk about this last time? But I think it's smart. But
the actual approach is smart, but I don't like playing those pitchers. I just don't trust that process.
Oh, I think it's awesome. I mean, you get lower ownership. They get to face the top few hitters, and then your guy gets to come in and face those guys one less time. So I think it works out well for everyone if you're willing to play those guys. He's still going to go 5, 6 innings, 7 innings if things go well for him. So no problem with Pruitt. I have a bunch of him on DK. On FanDuel, I don't really think he has the upside. You kind of have to nail pitcher, I always say. So it's tough for me to get to Pruitt on FanDuel, but on DraftKings, yeah, I've got a lot of interest in Pruitt.
Okay. Oh, Kevin Zoe said he's playing fantasy draft, so that's why it's Reynolds or Nunez. I would go Reynolds in that case. I just think Nunez has been so cold, and I like the team total might be a little better, but Reynolds I think grades out better as well for me. So I would go Reynolds.
I would go Reynolds as well. Nunez chalk is really tough for me when he's got a 65 WRC plus. Clay Buchholz death train. No Clay Buchholz for me. I couldn't do it. I couldn't get myself to do it, even though he has been good. There's no doubt about it.
Would you play Perez or Grandal in a DK GPP? I would go Grandal. Yeah, I would go Grandal. I don't even think I need to think about that.
Perez or Grandal? So that's Hernan Perez, I'm assuming?
I think Salvador.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's close for me. I think I go Grandal there.
Yeah, the matchup is a little better for Perez. I mean, there's definitely a case for it, but I like Grandal a little more. I mean, Grandal also just won me a fair amount of money on Friday, so I'm probably a little biased. But I like Grandal. It's hard to dislike a guy when he just hit 2 home runs and you had him at 2%. Like, I feel like he built a special bond. Like, I would kiss Grandal if he asked really nicely, I think. At least bought me one margarita.
Whenever I win with players that I don't think are good, like I'll win a GPP in hockey or something, and I just take that as I used my card up on that player if I don't believe in them, long term. So I'll just
interesting approach. I like that.
Yeah, I'll be happy with what they gave me, what they did for me, and then that's the extent of it. You don't exist anymore.
The Chubster is asking for our home run picks, so I guess Josh the Chubster Engelman, in case it's unclear, his nickname has always been the Chubster. He's asking for home run picks, so let's do it. Jake, you have a home run pick to make. Who is it going to be?
I'm going with a Brewer, Christian Yelich, in that 2-hole back-to-back days with Brewers. I'm feeling good about this one. Maybe he'll hit a couple doubles off the wall, but you'll have to deal with that. He's gonna hit Chatwood hard.
I actually like that pick. I think Yelich is in a good spot. Josh is going against Adam Plutko. He's doubling down and spiting us in our mild taste or mild enjoyment of Adam Plutko. Yohan Moncada for the Chubster. So, all right, I will go. This is a tough one, but I'm going to target the shitty pitcher who I love to target. Go with Joey Votto, or Votto, depending upon the right way you want to pronounce it. I just think he's in the best spot. And Kennedy, I just hate. I think Kennedy sucks, and I like going against him whenever I can. And a guy with that much prodigious power and on base, I'm going with Votto.
I like it.
I like all of our picks, actually, except for you. Well, actually, I like our picks. I don't like Josh's pick.
So Josh, if you're still here, I'm off the Plutko train. Did not end up having to play him, so you can say that you convinced me, but it's really just me being smart.
I have one Plutko with John Gray as part of a Royals and Red stack. So I'm going real wacky there. But I'm happy with it. Oh, Shark is a winner of a GPP too. So, and he's got both of our guys in his lineup. So I feel good about that now too.
There we go.
Shark, we're making each other feel good. I like that. That's what this is all about.
Yep.
Votto hasn't hit a home run in a month. Is that possible, really?
I mean,
it's got to regress the mean at some point.
Yeah, that's true.
Odorizzi or Ferguson, which would you pick? Jake, I would probably go. Actually, I'll go first. Ferguson. I would go Odorizzi, probably.
I'd go Ferguson, but Odorizzi's going to be. I think Odorizzi's a fine play, and he's going to be 1/10 of the ownership as Ferguson. So
I like Ferguson a little more, but Odorizzi is priced $1,000 higher. I think for a reason. I think there's just a little more safety in Odorizzi than there is in Ferguson. But I do like Ferguson more, and I say that as a guy who likes playing rookies and everything, though. So go with some caution. JD Martinez. Yeah, JD Martinez. I guess we kind of skipped over the Red Sox, but they're one of the higher scoring teams projected on the slate. I guess, how are we feeling overall on them? I know we kind of touched on it, but let's go back because I think it's worth discussing them.
Yeah, I think they're going to be over-owned is my beef with them. And you've got the leadoff hitter, 3,600. You get to take out a second base or shortstop position on DraftKings. And then you're just going to get people to plug in Benintendi and JD and Moreland and Devers. And, I mean, Hess is not good. I don't think he's any good or anything, but I just think they're going to be so, way higher owned than they should be. So
it's fair. I would agree with it, and I think I don't think Hess is great or anything. I just didn't get there, and I feel like I agree with you that they're going to be over-owned. And we've really been trying. I've really been trying in particular just to do less chalky stacks because it's paid off every time I do it. Like yesterday, the Pirates weren't chalky. And they weren't even that great, but just because they were off the beaten path, they ended up doing pretty well for me. So I think that's sort of where I am with it, and that's why I'm going off the Sox. But if we're all doing that, then maybe the Sox are going to be the lower-owned team, and we're all wrong. How about the Yankees tonight? We haven't talked about them at all.
I don't really want to stack against Roark all that much. He's just good against righties, and the Yankees bats that I most want to play are Stanton and Judge and Sanchez. So, there's no Sanchez in the lineup, but you see what I'm saying. So, the run totals dropped too as the day has gone on. They were above 5, now they're below 5. Not that worries me all that much, but Greg Bird, I think, is probably my favorite Yankee.
Yeah, Greg Bird we have as being an A in value and in points on the on Awesemo's rankings on our super genius boss who makes way more money than any of us can ever dream of. So there is some validity to Shane for the Yankees, but I'm not going there tonight. I'm with you. I think Roark's okay enough. Not really killing it for me, though.
Yeah.
CJ Cron tonight for a utility position on FanDuel, but I guess in general, how do you feel about CJ Cron and the Rays?
Against Jaime, I like Cron. He's one of the couple guys I mentioned. It's just Jaime. Well, I think he's an okay play. I wouldn't have any confidence in rolling him out. So Cron, I think, is a guy that could damage him as could Wilson Ramos. So those are the two guys I like them against most lefties. So Jaime is no exception.
Would you go Nimmo, Marte, or McCutchen for a one-off play?
Nimmo, Marte, McCutchen. Nimmo, Marte. I'd probably go McCutchen, actually. That's a weird one for me. I don't really like any of those guys, but McCutchen.
I actually don't mind Fultonevich tonight. I'm not playing him or anything, but I don't mind him. That said, Nimmo versus righties has been raking. He's on base 400%, 405%, or whatever, 405. I never know what the right way to say that. He's got a 405 on base percentage. He's got a 216 isolated power. Fultonevich does give up some stuff. So I think Nimmo's got a decent shot. But yeah, I think overall that I would probably, I think I'd go with Nimmo, actually. I'm all right with that. I'm not playing him or anything, but I think I would go with it.
Okay.
You already answered this, but if salary weren't an issue, would you go Nola or Gray on DK?
Didn't we answer this already? Oh, if salary weren't an issue, then Nola. I think Nola.
It's a new, but we answered the same questions multiple times. Just got to do that.
But I think we took the pricing into consideration. So you're saving $4,000, and that's a big deal tonight with a lot of hitters we want to play. So if you're not, if you have that much, or you can spend up for, or you don't have to spend up for guys as your hitters, then I would go with Nola.
Leonis Martin has apparently been on a hot streak. Is he someone that you would consider playing tonight? I mean, we don't mind Odorizzi, so I would say I'm not, but he's like an okay play, and he's hitting leadoff, right? So
yeah,
not bad.
I mean,
what do you think?
He's fine. That's all I really have. Yeah, I mean, I'm not playing him because he's on a hot streak, but his numbers look fine. And if I wasn't interested in Odorizzi, then maybe he would be on the Tigers stack. So I wouldn't play Martin unless it was a stack situation. Is what I'm trying to say.
Would you play any Bowers or Adames tonight, or just Ramos and Cron for the Rays?
I mean, I would just play Ramos and Cron, but if you want to stack against Jaime, he's had some blow-up starts. I mean, you can make a case for so many teams tonight, and whether it's price or matchup, or just baseballing, like there's so many teams that I can see having big nights.
Yeah, I mean, the Rays, I think, as part of, like, if you're going to stack them, I think stack them with Bowers or Bauer and Adames. But I think that, like, I don't think there's a big enough sample size on either of those guys to really go out on a limb for them, to be honest. Like, Bowers had a great night last night. Good for him. I would like to see more out of both him and Willie. We're on a first-name basis, me and Willie Adames. I'd like to see both those guys to do a little more before I would advocate for him. But I think a Rays stack, not a terrible play.
And it's lefty-lefty for Bowers, too. So that.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't look great in his limited sample size, but it's something. It's something. Do you want to revisit your Mariners take again? Because people are hyping up John Segura.
I'm just not targeting bats against Berea. He's, in my model and stuff, he looks really solid and missing bats and doing all the stuff that I like to see. So, I mean, if you want to stack up the Mariners, go right ahead, but I'm not going to sit here and say that it's one of even my top 10 stacks on the night.
Let's see. Would you go Martinez or Benintendi on DK? I would go Martinez.
Martinez or Benintendi? JD Martinez, yes, or Andrew Benintendi? I would go with Benintendi.
Okay. We're just going to disagree there. I just like, Martinez has more power. I always kind of gravitate towards that. Because, you do get 14 points if he gets a home run. But yeah, I think they're both perfectly fine plays. I think you're not going to go wrong with either of those guys. You'd probably play both. Probably play two lineups and get both those guys in. Thoughts on Mike Trout tonight? Is he good? You like that Mike Trout guy?
Yeah. Trout, no, just the worst play on the board. No, it's Trout. Leak has been a reverse splits guy for the past couple of years. and maybe even farther back. I can't remember, but Leak gets pounded by righties, and Trout is Trout. He's just nuts, man. One of the best players of all time. Like, he's just insane. There's never going to be a spot where I'm going to be like, do not play Mike Trout.
Yep. I agree. I think if you can afford Mike Trout, great. But it's usually hard to afford Mike Trout. That is an issue. McCullers or John Gray? Which of those two would you go? I assume. I mean, let's say both price independent and if money is not an option. Or actually, no, that's the same thing. Price inclusive and if money were not an option.
So McCullers or John Gray on DK?
Yeah, I think it's McCullers.
Oh man, I think Gray's got a lot of upside here.
Ooh.
Oh man, that's tough for me because McCullers is going to be lower owned. He's priced up. You're going to get a different lineup than whatever 40% of the field that has Gray. So, I'd still probably go Gray there.
I would go McCullers. Yeah, I think Gray's an okay play, but McCullers I think will be. I assume he's going to be lower owned than. Let's see. McCullers. Everything goes so slow.
Dude, God. This slate is really fun. I just have to say that. I could see so many different things happening. This is one of the better slates I think we've had in a long time that I've played, at least. I haven't played as much on the weekends lately, but like this has like everything: good pitching, good hitting, chalk guys, super under-owned stacks, and this is why baseball DFS is fun.
I agree. I think that I think it's an interesting spot. It probably helps that there isn't like one of those big overpriced pitchers. No Scherzer or Sale or anybody that's going to kind of take away a chunk of ownership, and you have to make that sort of Rosemary's Baby style choice where you don't know whether you're going or not. I like it too. I think there's a lot of decent options here. Are you guys fully game stacking Cincinnati, Kansas City? I think that's a perfectly fine approach. I have at least one of those.
Yeah, I think if I am game stacking a game, though, that's one of the top two. I think I like the Cubs and the Brewers as well for a game stack. And for most of these games, it's just I like one side. So if you want a game stack and just watch the game or whatever, or you're just playing for fun, or you just want to have a game stack in there, I think that one is either my favorite or my second favorite. So yeah, I like it.
Adam Gerger is asking an interesting question, which probably more of an Osmo question, so I might actually break that out for him tomorrow. Should away bats be weighted heavier than home bats for the guaranteed ninth inning plate appearances that they get, or is that meaningless? I mean, I would say any time you're potentially getting extra plate appearances, it's better, but I would say probably overall it evens out. I don't know. What do you think, Jake?
I've heard this argument. I've heard it both ways. So you're guaranteed the 9 at-bats, yes. But if your stack does what you need your stack to do, that means that they're probably scoring runs like as the game goes on, like in the 3rd and 4th and 5th innings, and then there's more of a chance that the guys can get taken out, so that 9th at bat may not even matter. If a team's up 9-1 in the 8th inning, it doesn't really matter. They're not getting an extra at bat anyways. But some managers are less likely to pull their top guys, and I mean, I don't know. It's a good discussion question for sure. I'm sure Alex has some numbers behind it. We could actually ask them that tomorrow. You're right.
Yeah, we're doing a little hour-long thing with Alex tomorrow. Actually, I believe I'm gonna need to double confirm. I actually asked them and didn't hear back yet. Pretty sure we have Osmo on a live stream again tomorrow as well, in the usual 6:15 Eastern slot. Possible we may not because we have to do like an hour video with him before that, but I think we're gonna have him on again. So if you have questions, get them ready and have them ready just in case. How many Arizona bats? Too many bats. 1, I would say, but I don't know. Maybe Goldschmidt's okay. But what about Arizona? Any thoughts on them?
I don't mind Arizona actually too. This is another one of those. They're going to be super low owned, and you've got Goldschmidt who is on fire, and then the lefties against Trevor Williams. So, I mean, I like Lamb and Descalso and Peralta. So you get Goldschmidt in there, and that's a nice 4-man stack.
I could see it, I guess. I'm not crazy about it, but I could see it.
No, that's the thing. I'm not like super crazy about one spot. That's why on a night when you're making one lineup tonight, that's really tough.
Yeah, I think, looking at it now, Goldschmidt and Lamb, I think in particular, look really good. Still not crazy about that stack, but those two guys I could see putting in like a 5-2-1 kind of approach. Let's see. Is Baker coming on? Oh, I guess I already answered that. Pruitt, a lot more Pruitt questions. So you're okay playing Pruitt overall in any and all circumstances, right?
I mean, I want to play him on DraftKings, but I'm a lot less likely to play him on FanDuel. So.
Okay. Yeah, all right. On FanDuel, Josh always advocates. Obviously, Josh, our fellow channel mate here for Osmo, usually advocates not going with super cheap pitchers on FanDuel, so it just doesn't work out. So Pruitt, not so much on FanDuel. But I think, if you're only playing two lineups, I probably wouldn't play Pruitt, but that's me. What strategy works best? First, thoughts on Makata. Luis Caliste. He is Josh Engelman's home run pick. So if the Chubster has given him his Chub luck, then he might be a good play because Josh has been hot with his home run picks lately. I'm not crazy about him. Jake, you're not crazy about Moncada either, right?
I like Moncada, actually. He's the one White Sox guy I really
like. Are
like.
you crazy about him?
I'm not crazy about him. I'm not like the Chubster picking him as my home run pick. Would I be shocked if he hit a home run against Plutko? No, not at all. Moncada against righties is someone I am always interested in playing.
All right. Let's see. So Shane Kumar is asking about our strategy for what strategy works best for us. For her, has been going 50-plus lineups on small slates for the biggest winnings. So generally, the plus EV approach that Alex would advocate for is max entering whatever tournament you can afford. So like if that's the 20 entry, $4 whatever, I think is what it normally is. That's what you should be doing. If you want the best return on value. If you like the rush of it all, then I would say put in enough of an amount in one of the bigger tournaments that you feel comfortable like you're covering enough of the angles you want to. That said, the approach that Alex has is definitely the right one. I just prefer the thrill of it all more. But Jake, how do you play?
I mean, yeah, I think if you can max enter, if that makes sense for you, then by all means, max enter. You getting the most combinations, and you're giving yourself a better chance to win the tournament if you max enter. Like, there's no doubt about that. So.
Yep, agreed. Thoughts on Rendon versus CC Sabathia, my favorite pitcher, according to Brandon T. Not my favorite pitcher anymore, though I'll be honest, I did contemplate playing again because I saw he had one of his standard big games when I'm not playing the slate that he's on. Thoughts on Rendon versus CC Sabathia, Jake?
Yeah, I like Rendon. I like Rendon a lot. Anytime he's against the lefty, good hitter, hits lefties incredibly hard, and underpriced. So those are three good things he's got going for him.
Plutko may pull a Bundy and give up 8 runs and get no outs. That's possible. He could also pull another Bundy and throw an amazing game versus the Red Sox. And I mean, look, there's a world of variance for all these guys, and there's a reason they're professional pitchers. So I think it's just as likely that Plutko gets rocked as it is that he has an okay day. So that's why I'm not playing a lot of Plutko. Brian Anderson or Yolmer Sanchez?
Brian Anderson or Yolmer Sanchez? Probably Anderson, but I'm not crazy about either one.
I would go Anderson too, but I like that stack. I'm not really playing it. I'm playing kind of bits and pieces of the Marlins, but I like Brian Anderson. For future reference, when using an optimizer, an unnamed one or otherwise, how important is the minimum or max salary setting? It sort of depends on the slayer. I think you don't want to leave a ton of money on the table. I think generally you don't want to leave more than $1,000. But there are some slates where you can do a little more. But I would say definitely usually not more than 2 on DraftKings for sure. Jake, any thoughts?
Yeah, it depends on the pricing and the number of options. So if there's a 3-game slate, and you've got a super chalk pitcher and you're fading that pitcher, then you can leave, $2,000 on the table, and if someone matches the chalk pitcher or whatever, he doesn't work out, and you've still got a similar roster construction with bats, but the pitcher's different, you might have $2,000 left over or whatever. I've done it. on huge slates where it's just you stack a team and you can't, like a team is just so underpriced, but you still want to stack them, and you leave $1,500 left. It just all depends on how well DK and FanDuel price.
Joe Brazo, would you go Votto or Abreu tonight? They're both similarly priced. We have projected for similar ownership. Which of those two would you go with?
Votto or Abreu? I'd go with Votto.
Yeah, I would go with Votto too. I mean, I just don't see it. I'm a big Adam Palumbo guy. No, I just don't see it for the Red Sox or for the White Sox rather tonight. And Votto, I'm putting my flag in the ground for Votto.
Okay.
Chris, do you believe in a flat Earth? I do not believe in a flat Earth. That is an odd question. Jake, are you flat Earth truther?
I'm not, although I can't say I've done the research to prove otherwise. So I guess I'll leave my options open on that.
Eric Thames leadoff home run incoming. I like Thames a lot. I actually should have played more Thames, but it didn't happen because I had to do this show. But I like Thames a fair amount, and it's actually sitting leadoff too. I'm going to get those extra at bats. He grades out really well for me. He's got a lot of power, gets on base really well. I'm intrigued.
Sure. I like Thames. I like the Brewers, so I'll have a handful of him as well.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing is, coming off of injury, that is the one little risk, but still a good price. Actually, not a good price. That is one thing, too. Not a great price, but an interesting spot nonetheless. Any final questions? You guys have like 1 minute, possibly seconds until lock, so get your stuff in if you have anything. Nothing coming through. How confident are you feeling about your lineups tonight, Jay? You got 150 now, so like I feel like you got to cover everything.
Yeah, it's weird, like having all these lineups because I might have exposure to someone or be like overexposed to someone I didn't mean to, so it's hard to like track them all. But it's a project for sure. It's tougher when I'm on the show, trying to do that and talk and give you somewhat reasonable advice.
That's also part of why I don't do like a bunch of entries anymore, because we had those times. I remember like there was one stream in particular where I had like max 20 in whatever tournament, I think like $4 on DraftKings, and I just got like hammered by every catcher getting ruled out who was in the projected lineups, and that was very upsetting. So for me, that was an informative thing where I need to only keep the amount of lineups that I can handle, and that's been around 10 for me.
Right.
Yeah. Anything else? Would Eric Thames hit baseballs further if the Earth was round or flat? I assume you hit more when it's flat because of aerodynamics, but don't quote me on that, as I'm not a physics man.
Neither am I.
Yeah, we're just guessing. You know exit velocity, though, so that's, like, it's a step.
Do you still make your single lineup along with your crunches? I mean, when I'm doing crunches right now, I'm just trying to like get the feel for it, get the feel for an optimizer because I haven't done it in a couple of years. But I mean, for hockey, I for sure will. I haven't done it for baseball just yet, but I mean, you can do either if you're asking if you should do it or not. You can make your main lineup and then crunch the rest of them.
Yeah, what I like to do, I mean, it's obviously not possible for 150, but generally what I like to do is use the optimizer to figure out where I'm going and then make my lineups by hand. I think especially for baseball, it's helpful with the stacks and stuff. But, I also enjoyed I think part of for me, the whole process is like you make it by hand. There's a certain degree of love you're putting into it. I don't know. Just like I enjoy that part of it, whereas the optimizer, I feel like it's like, I don't know. It's like watching just money shots.
Yeah, that's the thing I don't like about the optimizer too. It's like you can't, like, I don't always know exactly how much I have of every player, and I might target against a pitcher I might not want it to because I forget to exclude him. So, I mean, I try to exclude as many players as possible that I wouldn't put in if I was making all these lineups by hand. But it's just tough sometimes when the new lineups come out, and so yeah, there's pros and cons for sure.
All right, well, we got enough in today. So we got a lot of stuff going on the channel. Jake's got the night shift coming up in a little bit. He's going to preview tomorrow's slate. We got a lot going on the Awesemo.com end of things, where if you're a premium member, Awesemo's got articles pretty much every day now, breaking down various things, and along with our ownership projections, rankings, all the things you need to build better teams. So if you're not a premium member, please go do it. Go sign up. It helps you and it helps us. And honestly, yesterday, Jake, you missed out. Like in chat for some reason, I said it to Josh. I think after we went off the air, it was like we were like putting fake chats in of people who were like, "I just won money. I signed up for premium and I won money." And it was like 5 or 6 different people. It kind of was a little surprising, also a little jarring because I'm not winning as much money as all those people. But but nonetheless, a lot of people are getting help out there. So please go join premium if you're trying to get better at this and try it out. It'll help you. It's an investment in your own profits.
Tomorrow,
Jake, any words?
Tomorrow or tonight would be a great time to join premium so you can watch that video with Osimo. So that's gonna.
Oh yeah, we're doing a roundtable thing with Jake and Josh and myself where we're going to kind of ask Osimo questions about his life, about his theories on things. So it's basically going to be an expanded version of the little preview ones I've done before, the short form ones I've done before with him. So we're excited about that. Might come out all at once, might come out in pieces, but it'll hopefully be an interesting look at a guy who we find interesting to work for. And he's a very smart guy who's got a lot of things to talk about. So we'll see that. And we'll be back tomorrow for more stuff. So thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure to subscribe, like all the videos that come through. Jake and Josh will be back tomorrow morning doing strategy stuff. And we will see you guys again soon.